Ladies and gentlemen, it is my extreme pleasure to welcome to the Credit Suisse Drivers Club Mr. Motor Racing himself, Sir Stirling Moss.
Thank you very much.
55 years ago today, the 14th of May 1961, Sir Stirling took his third victory here at Monaco in the Rob Walker Racing Lotus 61. Some of you will have seen the wonderful moment we had outside earlier on with the actual car, Sir Stirling reunited with that. We're going to have a little chat now for a quarter of an hour or so about that legendary race 55 years ago today. When you watch that film, does it all come flooding back?
A lot of the memories came back, yes, that's for sure. You know, to have a race here is really the best fun from a driver's point of view, and so it's one always look forward to.
It's the sort of circuit that if it applied for a race now, they'd just laugh, wouldn't they, and say go away.
Oh, they've got it now purely because of user rights. I'm sure the governing body would never hear of having a race round the road. But the thing you've got to remember is back in those days, I mean, I was racing each week within a different town, but every single week of the year.
So in 1961, you had very big experience of this place. You won it in 1956 in a Maserati. You won it in 1960 in the Lotus 18. But in 1961, you were under big pressure because you were against the three works Ferraris of Richard Ginther, Wolfgang von Trips and Phil Hill. Did you feel like the underdog in a privateer Lotus?
Yeah, but I knew I had the nicest car to drive. I mean, the Lotus was it wasn't that strong, but it was really handy to drive, very manoeuvrable, and on a circuit like this, which demands the car to be that way, I thought, well, you know, at least I'll go down trying.
What was the?
Huh?
Were you very underpowered?
Yeah, the car was very underpowered, but
yeah, it just had the climax engine, didn't it?
Yeah, it does. The point is, the power-to-rate ratio on it was still pretty good.
Were you concerned at all about the reliability? Because in those days, reliability was an issue, particularly with Lotus.
Yeah, I mean, on Lotus, the only reliability business really was wheels falling off, and I'd hoped it wouldn't happen here.
The race in those days was 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And on that day, you were lapping at qualifying speed for 100 laps. How did you maintain your composure and your concentration?
I think mainly by concentrating on what I was doing. You know, I would say to myself, now I'm going to try and do a perfect lap from here, which of course is not possible, but I would then go out and drive, and then if something would happen and I'd leave too much, I had too much road left, I'd say, right, I should have been quicker. And I'd try and go from there. So the whole thing is, having a car behind you is not as nice as having a car in front of you. I mean, sitting in second place is a lot easier than leading.
Is there a sensation that the barriers are very close, the crowd is very close, the lampposts are very close?
Yeah, I suppose if you thought about them, yes. But if you were driving on roads all the time, racing on roads all the time, then it certainly was not anything for particular concentration.
I suppose you were used to hammering through Italian villages, weren't you, in the Mercedes, in the Mille Miglia, for example?
Yeah.
So on that day in 1961, you take pole position in the Lotus, but Richie Ginther, the American in the lead Ferrari,
right,
he takes the lead, and you have to follow him for 13 laps. What was your game plan?
Well, I remember when the flag dropped, I remember the front crowd of about 6, 7, 8 cars would pull away, and I was further back at that time for whatever reason, and I thought, well, I've just got to get to the front and stick with them because it was 100 laps, and I really went very hard as I could, got to the front there, and then held on.
There was a lot of fanfare for the Ferraris, the rear-engine Sharknose.
Yeah.
They were expected to be the pace setters. Did you think you had any chance at all?
Well, no more or less than any other race, actually. I mean, it was just another race of that time.
You thought they were playing with you?
Yeah, I did. But no, Susie's pointing out.
Lady Moss is correcting Sir Stirling on the fact.
She's saying that I did, which is fact. To start with, I thought they were playing.
You thought they were playing with you, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. And then I tried to break away, And so I went as hard as I could, and that helped.
Yeah. Sorry about the background noise. It will stop soon, I think, when the 460 Formula Juniors that are out there get back to their garage. There was a unique bit of bodywork on the car. They removed the side panels on the car, didn't they?
Yeah.
What was the reason for that?
The reason for the side panels being removed is that aerodynamically it wouldn't affect the car. And I thought, well, it's damned hot out there to have air really going through the car, which would make it nicest for the 3 3/4 hour race. It was the only reason. I mean, people wondered why we'd done it, if they'd fallen off, all sorts of other things. But no, we took them off to just have air around.
It makes for unique photography, because is that the only time that you did that? Only time you removed the panels?
Was that the only time? Yes. Oh, yes, the only time. Yeah.
So you spend 13 laps behind the lead Ferrari of Richie Ginther, and you eventually get past him. Did he make a mistake?
No.
Did you outfox him somewhere?
He was. I can't remember exactly where I passed him, but certainly he must have given me an opening, and I went through him because I wanted to try and get to the lead at that point. And I could see that being behind somebody who's not going as fast as the first guy, probably Phil Hill, he would be therefore pulling away from me.
Do you think the crowd was behind you in an inferior car and you were British?
Yeah, I think so. I think the French were probably on our side.
I'm just wondering if there's anyone here who was here in 1960 and perhaps remembers whether the crowd cheered as you took the lead.
No, I think they cheered me, if anything, because I was the underdog. With a privately entered car, from England and so on. I think that would be the main reason.
You had a great relationship with Rob Walker, didn't you? And you raced single-seaters and sports cars for him with much success. What was the key to the relationship, do you think?
Really, I suppose he was a yes man. I'd say, can we do this? He'd say yes. Rob was passionately interested in cars and running his team. And if there was anything I wanted to get done, I'd just speak to him. He'd refer me straight back to Alf Francis, who was his chief engineer, or engineer nowadays, and that's how we worked.
The car is here this weekend. It's owned by Stephen Bond, who acquired it from the Donington collection, Tom Wheatcross. Is it strange seeing it again? And you were perched on the wheel earlier this morning.
He got those awful roll bars on it. A great big thing. Driving with that bloody big 1.5-inch roll bar, I would have thought would be a bit off-putting. But it certainly would probably be safe if you crash.
Yeah. Were you very conscious in your day of self-preservation? Is it something that you thought about?
I suppose, yes. Yes, you'd think about it. If you went to a really difficult, I remember going to, I can't remember where, Syracuse or somewhere, some circuit, and thinking, if a wheel came off now, I wouldn't half be in trouble, because we did quite high speeds, and there were trees at the side of the road. That's when it really came home to you.
But you raced on the old Spa and the old Monza with no chicanes. It was, I suppose the attitude then was, you get on with it. If you don't like it, go and play tennis.
So many small towns, Mette, Perrigo, all these places had their own Grand Prix. And it was a very nice thing. You'd be in a particular race, and the organisers of another one would come up and say to you, look, would you take part in our race? And so we'd negotiate the start money, and Alf would go down there, and we'd drive in it.
So you get past Ginther and you're leading the race. You'd won it the year before in the same car. Did you think there would be some tactics from the three Ferraris? Do you think they'd each have a turn at coming to try and get you?
Well, I know that they had they put a signal out, which I was able to sometimes read a bit, sometimes I couldn't. Depends on the time. But I knew what they were going to try and do, and I just felt, well, the only way is to get on with it and try and beat them. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, again. Yes, I did see one of their went past the signalling place, and it said Ginther, I think it was, give all. And so then they obviously, Richie, they presume they they put in front, and then they sent him after me, and then Phil was on.
And then you had another fantastic win at the Nürburgring in the Lotus 1821, which is a different story. We're going to leave it there. It's a wonderful story. Great to have you here this weekend. Great to have the car here again. And 55 years ago to the day, a little bit of motor racing history has been remade. Yeah. So thank you for that. Sir Stirling Moss, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you.